is a great question. We actually really focus on bringing people into the company that are actually a good fit for the company culture rather than their skill set. Especially when it comes to something like cleaning. The skill set can be developed, and it's much more important to us that we have somebody who is committed to the mission, which is making a cleaner world, not just cleaning people's houses, but, not bringing real toxic energy with us anywhere. So we just try to focus on bringing in people who share the company culture of joyfulness and mindfulness, even, when what you're doing is something so mundane as cleaning. Oh, there's been a lot of failures. I think one of the biggest and one of the most impactful failures has been don't do anything out of desperation as an entrepreneur. Whether that's hiring employees after you've gotten past the point of desperation. It's never good to wait until it's too late to make a decision. So be decisive, take immediate action, and don't find yourself getting to the point of being absolutely desperate for something to happen in your business. It depends what you call work. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I get really excited and passionate about what I'm doing. It feels more like, cooking or building or something like that, and it doesn't always feel like work. Some stuff feels like work, so I'm pretty much guaranteed at least a few hours a day of work. But I would say I pretty much never really disconnect from entrepreneurship, from my business. It's just always there. I dream about it. I wake up thinking about it in the middle of the night. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. I go to bed thinking about it while I'm doing all of my other things. I'm thinking about it. So I would say it's all and nothing. Well, that's the funny thing about being an entrepreneur, especially in this kind of business, is there really doesn't seem to be a typical day. I prefer to try to get up early just because it makes my day feel longer. And then it's really just I'm kind of at the mercy of what I have invested in, in the weeks and days prior to that day. So if I have lots of consultations with new clients coming up, or if I'm working on a project that I want to launch online, or if I'm actually out in the field training employees and actually servicing my clients. So there's really not a typical day as the owner of a small company. Anyways, not in our field, which is cleaning. So. I would say that fortunately for us, I feel like it's brought my husband and I closer. Especially when we were first launching the business, we spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week together. We worked together, lived together, ate together, slept together. It was together all the time. And fortunately for us, I really do feel like it just solidified a bond for us. Over the course of the years, we've also had lots of family members who have, helped us out with the company, worked for us as employees, and, that had its share of bringing some of us closer and some of us further apart, which you never can tell. But for the most part, I feel like it's been a positive impact in our life, especially because we've attained a measure of success with the company. It really allows us a freedom that some people who work a hefty 9 to 5, 5 or 6 days a week don't get to have. So I feel like it's been a positive influence, and it also helps us because we've grown as people. Entrepreneurship is it is a boot camp for self-development. If you are not stepping up your game every day on so many levels that aren't necessarily required of you when you are in a job that doesn't have that much responsibility or self-motivation involved, I think it's been a big impact on us as people, which makes us a more positive impact on our families. Well, when it comes to, establishing a customer base or retaining them, making them happy and loyal. To me, it's been about making each person feel like they have a distinct relationship with me and with my company. I still am a huge part of my company, Beloved Earth, and people recognize me as someone that they're going to get to interact with. And I try to make sure that every interaction is something, positive and memorable. I think it's really important to make people feel like they're more than just a pocketbook when you're in any kind of business. Especially, house cleaning is such an intimate service that we're providing for people. It needs to be based on trust, and for me it's always, also mutual affection and appreciation. It means the world to me that they've chosen to do business with me, and I want to make sure that it means the world to them that I've taken off some of the pressure of why they hired me in the first place. Aspect of being an entrepreneur is definitely freedom. For me, that was the driving force behind wanting to do it in the first place. Just because as much as I love, I definitely have a service mentality. I enjoyed working for other people. The idea of having the freedom to, put my ideas into motion without having to get, without worrying about someone else having veto power over my creativity, that was a huge thing. So for me, everything in my life kind of boils down to freedom, and so it comes right down into my my entrepreneurship as well. Every time that I meet with a new client and they're excited to start working with me, that has incredible satisfaction to it. When I get invited to put a bid in for a job just because they've heard great things about me, when I see someone has written me a beautiful testimonial, there are so many satisfying moments where, I feel like I'm doing something right. Well, I have a natural preference for a type of marketing in the business, which is by word of mouth. I really like kind of having an army of salespeople out there that are just kind of raving fans that talk about me. So we've been members of BNI, which is Business Networking International, since 2006, January of 2006, a month after we launched the business, and been consecutive members ever since. So as long as I own a business, I'll be a member of BNI. It's been very powerful, just creating those really tight networking relationships. It's really strategic alliances sometimes that have given me so much of our business, and we've had very little luck comparatively with any kind of paid advertising or anything like that, but I would definitely say word of mouth and just really building and fostering and nurturing those referral relationships. Well, the funny thing about culture in a small business is that it's actually really hard to predetermine what your company culture is going to be, especially when you start blending lots of different people and personalities and work ethics and all sorts of stuff like that. But because we're such a small company, I think that the culture kind of grew around the kinds of people that we are and that I am. And, I want to live a life full of joy and excitement and enthusiasm and inspiration. And therefore I tend to try to draw those kinds of people to me. Unfortunately, I do think that our culture is one of joy, and we enjoy what we do. We like serving people, and I think that that becomes more glaringly obvious when you have someone involved who really doesn't fit the culture. They stand out like a sore thumb, and so I think it's really important to protect the company culture, but at the same time, the culture evolves. It's gonna determine itself, and then you just kind of need to play along and just make sure that you're not sabotaging it from the back end. I would say some of the biggest mistakes that I've made were feeling like problems will go away if I ignore them. It's kind of like, ooh, I can't see you, you'll go away. They don't. They never go away. So if you see something arising, just take care of it as quickly as you can, whether it's, resolving a conflict with a client or, a to-do list that just keeps getting longer. Just tackle it, get it over and done with, because it really doesn't just go away. One of the ways that you can try to prevent mistakes is by kind of creating a mental file or even a physical one about lessons learned. When you find a good way of doing something, establish it as a standard practice. If you find a bad way of doing something, try to establish it as a lesson learned and try not to repeat those kinds of mistakes. So, in my opinion, the customer is not always right, but that doesn't even matter. The customer could be dead wrong, but they're still the most important part of my business. And honestly, bad news and a bad review travels 10 times faster and 10 times farther than a good one. So it's just important to make sure that you maintain a positive relationship. I mean, people, for the most part, understand that sometimes things happen. Sometimes we're not going to be able to do the job we thought we were going to be able to do. Sometimes we're going to screw up. I'm going to, accidentally forget that I was even supposed to come. Who knows? There's a million things that can go wrong when you're running your own business, and sometimes it's your responsibility, sometimes it's an act of God. And people, as long as you're honest and upfront and very clearly intending to salvage that relationship, most people will give you, a lot of leeway when it comes to performance. They won't give you a lot of leeway when it comes to lack of trust.